amendment with me. The mortgage foreclosure crisis continues to be a roadblock in many parts of the country, including Florida, where I'm from, to a sustained economic recovery.
Has the clerk designated the amendment?
No, sir.
That's my fault. The gentleman, I was distracted, and the clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment to H.R. 5072.
I ask unanimous consent that the further reading be dispensed with, and I apologize to the gentleman from Florida, and he is now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that. I was just reporting, obviously, the statistics that many of us know, that a record 2.8 million foreclosures occurred in 2009, according to Realty Track, and we may see even a higher number this coming year. Troubled borrowers report confusion over completing HAMP loan documents and inability to reach the person at the service or handling the notification, and many times inaccurate borrower information in lender databases. From the lenders and services, we hear that borrowers are slow to return the required documents or provide critical information. Of course, the question is, how can we move this process along and make it work for everyone? We also know that there's poor borrower awareness of the program, and over 55% of delinquent borrowers are not responding to lender outreach regarding HAMP via telephone or the mail. While there is no single or easy remedy to curing the nation's housing ills with one silver bullet, it is critical that lenders do more to reach struggling borrowers, provide basic education to the communities about the HAMP program, and improve overall execution of the program. Industry data shows that about half the people who have requested loan modification documents and or were sent mortgage loan modification documents do not return them, and only about 25% of those who requested or were sent mortgage loan modification documents actually applied for a loan modification. What this amendment does is it creates an incentive for the servicer to provide face-to-face outreach, that personal touch, making it a reimbursable expense for the servicer. Further, servicers must present borrowers with information about all of the loan modification programs available to them in consumer-friendly, easy-to-understand language. This is a very simple point, but it's common sense. It's trying to make the whole process work in a face-to-face way with someone you can actually talk to, and also it presents the information so they can understand it. What this amendment does is it allows HUD to utilize funds to provide reimbursement to mortgage servicers that utilize qualified third parties for the purpose of making all reasonable efforts to help assure that borrowers that are in arrears or in default are contacted in this in-person procedure I just mentioned before foreclosure. With more current and thorough financial information gained from face-to-face contacts with borrowers, lenders will be able to make faster, better, more informed decisions whether a borrower is a good candidate for a loan modification or whether foreclosure or a short sale or other options would be more appropriate courses of action. My biggest struggle in dealing with many of the things in Florida is to make sure that our homeowners, who we want to keep in their homes, if at all possible, understand what their options are and want to encourage our lenders to participate in an effective procedure that can make that happen. I encourage our colleagues to support this bipartisan amendment, and I thank the Chair for allowing me to present it.
The co-author, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Marchant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I would like to thank Congressman Klein for his willingness to address some of the concerns we had in this amendment. In Dallas-Fort Worth now, there are 6% of the homeowners with loans have now missed 3 consecutive payments. These people are at a very high risk for foreclosure. The traditional methods of contacting these people have not proved to be successful in many instances, phone calls and letters. This allows the servicer to send someone out to their home to try to make a personal contact with them. It does not use any additional funds, and I believe that it will be very effective in stemming foreclosures. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Is there further debate? Gentlewoman from California.
Mr. Chairman and members, I rise in support of Mr. Klein's amendment. I know that he's worked hard to try and deal with the foreclosure meltdown that we have in this country. As you know, the mortgage servicers have basically operated without a lot of oversight because they're unregulated, and We just have not paid a lot of attention to them. We do have a comprehensive piece of legislation that will be coming forward later on, the Mortgage Services and Foreclosure Prevention Act, but I think this will fit nicely into what we're attempting to do in beginning to deal in a comprehensive way with the mortgage services. As you know, the President in the HAMP Act intended to try to incentivize the mortgage services with a $1,000 payment for successful modifications. I don't know how that's working. We intend to look very closely at that and take a look at everything that has been attempted thus far to see if we can make sure that we have the kind of legislation, comprehensive legislation, that will help our homeowners, that will help the services be more successful, and I would urge support for this particular amendment.
The gentleman from West Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a question of the sponsor of the amendment. First of all, my quick question is this with mortgages that have been insured by FHA or every mortgage?
I'll ask the gentleman to yield.
Sure.
FHA, it wouldn't be germane to go beyond that. This bill only deals with FHA, so we'd have a germaneness issue if we went beyond that. If members want to go beyond it, we'll need a different legislative vehicle.
Okay, I just don't see that enumerated in here, but I just read it
Well,
quickly.
yeah,
I might have missed that.
Mr. Chairman?
If the gentlewoman would...
Sure.
Yeah. On page 4, lines 14 and thereafter.
Okay.
No, if the gentleman would yield further, there's some who would like to broaden it, but we had a germaneness issue here.
Right, that was
So
concerning
that's-
me as well.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think the chairwoman alluded to we've had a lot of testimony concerning the HAMP and the servicers and the remodifications and that we know are not living up to expectations. And a lot of this, the services are, I think it's $1,500 every time they do a loan modification or a refinance. And each of our individual offices have been working with people face to face to try to help them with this exact problem. When you were looking at the need for this, did you look at what the HAMP program is doing and other housing counseling agencies are doing presently to see how this would fit into that niche?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Gentleman yields to the gentleman from Florida.
I'd like to thank the gentlelady for her observations. First, on the first point, which is that I would like to see this go beyond FHA. This bill happens to deal with FHA, so to the extent you have an interest in expanding this thing further, because to me this is very common sense.
I wouldn't say that was my interest.
Well, this is a point that I think that a lot of people are saying that, and I think Mr. Marchand has also picked this up as well. And a lot of people are saying that I just can't get a hold of the person, I can't get answers. The mortgage holder, the mortgage or the borrower doesn't know what the choices are. So this is sort of a common sense. Where these ideas came from, to answer your question, is exactly from that. Talking to people in the field who are doing different things, that's where these ideas came from.
Okay, would the cost of this be borne by then from FHA?
From existing funds.
From existing funds of a
sources.
program that has a capital reserve that's well below what it's congressionally mandated to maintain, correct?
This is coming from the HAMP funds.
Oh, from the HAMP funds, not from the FHA.
Right. Okay, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's coming from the FHA. The belief, though, is that in terms of trying to get control over the HA funding problem, this will save funds. This will save long-term money in the FHA.
Do you have any idea what the cost of this would be? Just randomly?
I don't know what I think it's a question of how many people actually
Right,
use it,
obviously,
so I don't have
yeah.
a number on that yet.
And FHA has seen this amendment, and this is something that they feel is within the realm of their mission statement to be able to move forward on this?
It's my understanding is they're aware of it, and since it's a voluntary program, they're fine with it.
Will the gentlewoman yield?
Sure.
It is worded, again, because of germaneness, it's here, but it says at the outset, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development may, to the extent any amounts are made available in advance of Appropriations Act for reimbursement, provide reimbursement. So it could come, in addition to it did not have to come out of the FHA reserve, but it would have to be it would have to be included in the HUD appropriation, which is, of course, subject to the overall budget cap that HUD gets.
Right, so this is voluntary on the part of the secretary,
Yes.
whether he wants to institute this program or not.
And if the gentleman will yield further, not just voluntary on his part, but subject to there being an appropriation for
Correct.
it. That need not come out of the FHA fund. It could be an additional appropriation.
All right, thank you.
Is there further debate on the amendment? The gentleman from Colorado.
Just a comment. Some states, Colorado has what's called a public trustee system, and the public trustee acts as the intermediary between the borrower and the lender. And in this instance, in Colorado, we've just passed a statute that the loan modification opportunities be part of, if a foreclosure is started, that they have to post these things. That it has, so that the borrower actually sees it as part of the whole package. And I don't think your amendment changes that in any way, shape, or form, but I just wanted to get that on the record.
Is there further debate? If not, the question is on the Klein amendment. Those in favor of the Klein-Marchant amendment, those in favor will say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment is agreed to. The gentleman from New Jersey is now recognized.